They're in safekeeping right now at Doug's house. And so what the Loan Society and volunteers from VDOE do in the future is, you know,
Right.
we shall see.
Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday, October 1st, 2024 Idlewild Village Commissioners Meeting. It's 9 a.m. and the first thing that we do is approve the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, and we will have a non-public session for employee-related issues at the end of this meeting.
Yes.
Is that, yes, also going to be a second?
Second.
Further discussion on the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. Next, we have the approval of the minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for discussion.
Second.
Discussion? I saw one thing that Word was trying to point out, that there was a word missing.
A missing word from Word?
Word said it needs a word. We'll dig that out for you.
Is that the last word?
He's determined to find it.
I have it. It says, section 6, old business table items, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth bullet down, says the tower agreement modification, it will be tabled for some time.
In,
And it's, Word wants it to be time on the first or second week in November.
Yeah,
Word puts a double blue lines under things.
uh-huh,
And there's several places in here that, its suggestions aren't always,
you're right, making sense, I get it. But take a
but
look at it.
some of them do. There's another one in here where it wants the word is, I believe, and I won't.
yeah, I saw that one too. I thought maybe tabled for some time in or during the first or second week in November. That was my suggestion.
Okay, excellent.
So with that huge modification, any further discussion?
I'm surprised Word didn't catch this. I caught a few things.
Okay.
Are you going?
Yes, if I may go. Okay, so under section 3A, the very final sentence, it says Nancy Cole seconds and the motion is passed 3-0.
Oh, so okay.
So
So
and
there's
one
two
of
of
those
them.
and the motions can be deleted. Okay, it repeated itself. Then under section 4, DPW report by Jeff, the second sentence says, about 2 tons were used on the where the leak was repaired. A little awkward. I would
Yes.
say about 2 tons were used where the leak was repaired. Just delete on the.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
Then we discussed the one Mark brought up. I also caught that, and I think I had another under section 9 correspondence bullet point 3. Mark Graffa makes a motion that an owner who requests use of VDOE DPW resources for their own individual purpose or to provide a donated services for a chosen entity outside of the district may not be allowed. I think we need to be more forceful. Will not be approved. May not. May is kind of like it may and it may not. Whereas will not, I think that this is just, you know, my druthers, will not be approved. So we can take it or leave it.
I like what you suggested,
Yeah, let's do that.
actually.
And that's all I have.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
So how do you vote?
As amended. Aye.
Yep.
3-0?
Aye.
3-0. Next we go to manifest, the approval of an operations and payroll manifest for $9,200.43. I'll make a motion for discussion of approving this manifest for $9,243.
Second.
Let's do a little review of this. So we purchased $635.85 in gravel. And I saw that most of that gravel was 1.5 inch stone. I think there was one truckload of 3/4 inch crushed.
No, it should be the other way.
Let's see.
It should be, most of that was 3/4 inch gravel, and then we've got a truckload or two of the 1.5 inch.
Okay, so this is Coleman's invoice of the 20th. And
You wanna look at it?
I have it right in front of me. Yes, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 truckloads of about 8, close to 9 tons, give or take each truckload, 61 tons of 3/4 inch.
3/4.
And then 1.5 inch of CBRG gravel spec. This is the state specification for 1.5 inch crushed gravel.
Right, that's
Which
the
is
state
stone.
mix.
And there was 7 tons of that in one truckload.
Right.
7 2/3.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all, is this, some of this still stored at DPW too, or?
Yes. Yes, some's been laid out, some's getting, we got stored, and we're trying to get it laid out.
But just for the manifest, that's the gravel that was purchased, $600 of that, and let's see, what else we have? We paid for the checks for Francine for $32.
Mm-hmm.
For 100 checks, yeah.
Highway equipment truck, $58.98 was little shop items, I believe, the fluids. And Medicare, we paid $622.76 for 2 employees. Retirement withheld, our matching fund, I think, of $328.51. $12.20 for Medicare. Print advertising, $85. I didn't notice that one. Do you remember what that was?
Well, that's what the code is used for the Spectrum,
Spectrum.
yeah.
Okay, the Spectrum phone. Maybe we should discuss whether there's other choices in Spectrum when we have a chance to look at those prices. But this is the manifest, and the rest of it is payroll. Any questions on payroll? I saw it in a annotation, it was a W in the payroll, let's see, I didn't know what that was. It's on its side, so I have to flip it around here.
Under Jeff, 9, in parentheses, 2W,
Right, I didn't know what the 2W was.
2 weeks.
Water.
Water.
Oh, water.
that's-
2 hours
that's
water.
the-
2 hours
Yeah,
water.
we've
Wow.
been labeling
That's the
when
code
we,
for the water,
when we
yeah.
help out with Ian, we started
Yep.
labeling that.
Very good. Very
So
good.
Tony should have that on there as well.
He
or
does.
He does.
Okay.
I don't have any further questions in the manifest. All in favor? You have any more? Whatever?
Yeah, just, that's right, I recall we discussed that anytime you and/or Tony are helping Simply Water or anything water system, you're just telling us how many man-hours are
Right.
involved in that.
Yep,
Okay,
so we'll mark it on the card as we did and keep moving forward that way.
right, okay.
No wonder we didn't know. It's the first time we've seen it. In a
Right,
while.
right, in a while, yeah.
In
right.
10 years for me.
Right, but we're not, from an accounting perspective, allocating 2 hours worth of pay from the water system to
That's
them,
right.
are we?
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
Oh, we are?
That's why we're doing it.
That's the purpose.
See, now you can do that.
Okay.
That's not being done. Are you talking about
I'm not sure how easy that
Charges.
is.
QuickBooks?
Yes.
No,
Charging.
It is not. Not the way that the payroll is set up now.
That's why I'm asking, because I think that that would take an entire, reorganization, minor reorganization of QuickBooks.
Correct.
Well, could we do a
Yep.
That would be
That's
the
what
easy.
I was
that would-
thinking.
So we'll just do transfers of the hours from the water budget to the operating budget.
Okay,
Yeah, that's all over my head.
gotcha.
No, that makes
Just the
sense.
way QuickBooks is set
So-
up is when she puts the hours in, QuickBooks says this is highway.
Right,
I don't wanna hear anything about the water system.
Right,
But that doesn't mean we can't say, okay, we're tracking it and we're having the water system reimburse
Right.
the operating budget like we do for many other
Right.
things.
right.
That's
No,
the
that's why
operating
we're
word.
tracking.
You're,
Yeah, you don't have to do that.
yeah, you're paid out of the operating budget, but any water hours you have is reimbursed from the water system back into the operating.
Right,
Right.
like we do monthly.
Right,
Right.
that's the
Same
easiest,
thing.
easiest way, yes.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay.
That makes
See,
sense.
we're just creating new little games with Jennifer. She
Right,
Yeah.
I get that.
Anything else on this manifest? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. Next, we have the water assessment manifest for $910.85. The bulk of which was the scanning and printing of the curb stop water books. And there was one other thing in there that was.
Well, the total is $65.98. I don't know what amount you just gave.
Off the,
Then that's incorrect, Amando.
okay, thanks.
It's actually $65.98.
Total.
Yep,
And that's just for the sheet protectors for the
that's, yep,
new prints, in the old prints of the curb stop books.
Mhm.
Okay, so the agenda is wrong, the 9:10:85?
yeah, the agenda has the last
Last
week's.
Last week's.
Yeah,
So this is a motion to approve a manifest for $65.98.
correct.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 on $65.98. DPW, good morning, Jeff.
Hello. Okay. So I did haul in some more gravel, last week, so we're pretty much at where we talked about what we're gonna get for the year. Minus maybe a couple loads still to come in, but, we're in good shape to get going and laying it out now, so that's the plan. We got started ditching Presidential, the end of Oak there, a little bit yesterday in Presidential, where those real rocky areas are. We're gonna continue on that today and hopefully start getting that gravel laid out in those spots. I got a pretty good list together. I think I got every one of them, but I'll double check on stumps that need to be ground up or marked at least. Grinding them would be ideal, but we know we're in crunch time and time's of the essence here, but I could grind them even if it's cold, so that's something I still like to get. And the ledge, I got the ledge mark, I got the ledge written down too. So I think I got all those spots marked or written down where the ledge is that would be jackhammered.
How many sites you have?
I've got about 11 to 14 ledge. Yeah, there's a few. So once I said I'm pretty 99.9% sure I got them all, I'll start seeing about getting some bids on that.
So you work in the Granite State, huh?
Yes. Unfortunately, I reached out to the candidate and he's off the market. So we're kind of back at square one.
So we need to follow up with the Tamworth people.
Yeah, and Tony's made some contact over there, but he's gotten nowhere on some phone calls. So I don't know if somebody wants to take over that and call the selectman, because he hasn't gotten any word back from the road agent at that point. Doug and I, we're gonna have coordinated. And Tony, we're gonna pull those rafts out tomorrow. Get those all pulled out and secured, set up, ready for winter. So that's on the dock. That old power venter from the old oil furnace, I pulled that out of the wall, because again, that was just being drafted and coming into winter. So I pulled that out, I patched the wall on the outside. I've been doing some work at my house with some insulation and some sheetrock, so I could patch, I'll fill that up with some insulation and patch it with some sheetrock on the inside. I could dispose of that old power venter if you want me to. There's nothing left to it.
Where is this?
In DPW 1. It had
Okay.
gotten cannibalized when the furnace got taken out, and all the copper pipe and all that stuff went south. So if you guys want me to dispose of what's left of it,
I also like to, I've been meaning to bring this up, looks like an old heating system is lying sideways on the ground behind the garage, the walkway from the office.
yeah, that, want us to get rid of that too?
And I'm thinking, yeah, it might be tough to get out of there, which is probably why it looks like it was thrown out of the window. when
I
they
think it
changed
was-
the
Yeah,
system
it
in the
does look
office.
like
I
it
think
was
that
just thrown
was
out.
at one
Yeah.
point,
And that's where it is.
and that's where it landed, and that's where it stayed.
So I wondered if the backhoe could extend the boom and lift it out of there instead of trying to, I don't know how, if it's got motors in it or take it apart.
Right,
It's something that looks like it's got sharp edges, so.
might be something we could hack out and bust up into pieces, because I don't think we can get around with the backhoe over there.
No, I'm just thinking from, I don't know if the bench is in the way, but how far the backhoe.
Right, if you can
just
get up on
drag-
that little
just drag it
landing
out
up there and
then
try to
lift
pull it.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Well, anyway, you can look at it to figure out whether
Right.
the easiest way to get it out of there.
Yeah, because I could get that back into the scrap pile that I have out back, and that could go, that's got some weight, that'd make some,
Somebody can
Scrap.
take it all.
um,
The tank has had its price dropped. The oil tank that's
Oh,
sitting
yeah.
out there. Nobody wants that oil tank, so we tried.
well, again,
We know what
that's
the fair market value
a
of it is.
truckload of scrap at some point over to the scrap yard. That piece you're talking, that, there's a few things out back there. Like I said,
And the other thing is, the tires.
I was gonna mention the tires too.
If you could see whether, maybe, there's a company that takes all the used tires in New England. It's a company, I think it's like John's,
Right,
used tires. They send tractor trailer trucks around. The village had a large number of tires at one point. And I called them and they came, because we had enough, they came as if we're a garage that
Right.
has a regular pickup. And
Oh.
they picked up all the tires, we paid per tire. There's a
yes,
charge, extra charge if there's a rim in the tire.
right,
So, because we don't have that many, I'm thinking maybe, you could ask, Albany Service
Yeah.
Center when the truck is coming and bring them over the day before, so we're not taking up any of this space. and
Yeah.
just-
I know in the past, when I first started, we brought 20 some odd tires or something like that, at 15 tires over to Frechette, and at that point, it was like $5 a tire. I can imagine it's a lot more now. But, so I'll talk to Alan about that, because I've seen that truck show up at the shop over there. I was just, I was gonna mention the tires, because we probably have about 15 or so, or 20
Okay.
lying around. Most of them are building one there, and then there might be one or two more up at building two. So,
That many, right?
yeah, there's quite a bit, so, yeah.
I seem to remember at the time, I think it was 2012, we paid $3 a tire.
Yeah,
That was 10 years ago, and that was paying them directly, so
right.
let's get rid of them.
Let's get rid of them,
clean up.
absolutely. Yep, no, I'm on the same page with that.
Let's get rid of any trace of the past.
Yes. Yes, I agree. So now we'll move on to these things here. The Deesbark drainage. So there's a culvert pipe that crosses the road. And it's been utilized for somebody's personal property, from the looks of it. So what the issue is, what we have with the road is, the pipe's on the low end of the road where a pipe would go, a culvert would go. So water should come down the road this side, and it should come down the road that side and be able to enter into that culvert pipe for drainage. Well, it's been stopped, so the water does not enter into that pipe.
Let me see. Are you familiar with the picture? Did you walk by that?
Oh yeah, I've walked by that, and that's pretty new. Why has he created that bowl with all the stone there?
Again, I don't wanna, I can't speak for it.
Let's talk about, that was, what you're seeing now is a new step. That was a culvert that was installed by the village for the obvious drainage that Jeff is talking about. It was at the low point of a road that comes in, and there was a lot across the street, that was acquired by the gentleman who lives away from the water on the other side of the road. So the entrance to the culvert is on his house lot. He bought the lot across the street and turned it into, he wanted to make it some kind of waterfront lot. He's got a party set up on it and so
Yeah,
forth.
there's a picnic area.
And
No way.
he owns his own mini excavator that has a little gravel plow blade on the front of it. And I've seen him use it on our road, and that's another discussion I'm gonna have is, just to focus on this one. And he started to change the way the entrance of that culvert worked over the years. He's done many things to it. He started putting 6-inch stones around it, and you could say that that's okay because it's filtering the fines out of it before it clogs the culvert. Then he lined the whole thing. Then he started to change the contour of the road where the water can't reach this thing. It looks to me like he doesn't want the water going into this culvert, the village's culvert, to go across to a lot that he's engineered and changed away from a wet lot into something that's more usable. Now he's completely buried the culvert under a lot more 6-inch stone.
Right.
Looks wrapped in fabric and stone and everything at
Yeah.
this point.
You can't see whether the culvert entrance is even open or not now. He's completely
Correct.
changed it. So this is the first of many conversations we're gonna have about people changing our roads for at their own whim and to our detriment. So I asked Jeff, and Tony has wanted to change the way that all works for quite some time. He's told me about it. I don't know if he's ever mentioned it to you guys. But now I believe now we have to take action, and we might have to get a lawyer involved because there's also a history of the village dealing with this gentleman, so that's not to be ignored.
But if this new, I've seen it, ring of stone, it's like almost like a crater now, that is.
It's not a ring of stone anymore. When were you there last?
Week ago?
It's completely filled with 6-inch stone.
Oh, it's completely filled.
Yeah.
You
the
can't see
whole
the
area.
culvert at all.
Oh, okay.
Right, it still has a,
I saw the bulb.
you know,
with all
there's,
the-
but
okay.
the culvert itself is all covered over
But
at this
It
point.
used to be a ring,
Right.
if you're using the word ring, where you could see the culvert and it could accept water if it could make it over whatever lip he put into it.
Well, there's a big lip, that's what I was concerned.
Now the whole thing is filled with stone and just concaves in, but you
Right.
can't see anything in there. We can't tell whether our culvert is working at all.
Okay, so.
And after the rain, I looked and I see evidence that water isn't even making it into this.
Well,
thing.
the evidence is the water's, again, it's coming down the road like it's supposed to, but it can't get into the culvert at that point, so it pools up and puddles up there and then washes across the road that way, because that's what's gonna
All right,
happen.
But this work he has done, how much of that is actually on our road versus his property?
Well, it's,
I'm I'm
that,
not.
I mean, the culvert pipe was installed by the district on that
He's
spot.
changed the contours of the front of his house where it's not clear how much of the road he infringed on with his landscaping. So now the ditch line isn't even clear. He's
Right.
Okay.
slowly changing everything about
Right.
that. It may require, this could get expensive, it may require a survey of that road. And I think we're into times where we're gonna be surveying more and more roads as we get into these kinds of disputes.
Yeah,
But-
because my argument was, why can't we just go in and remove that as long as we stay on our road? But right now, it's unclear how much is our road and how much is his property, and what we're entitled to work on and what we're not.
That was installed where it was clear that that was along the ditch line of the road. That's what I'm saying, is he's changed everything leading into it
Okay,
for his own whim.
so,
I mean-
sounds like a letter.
If we were to
With the
change it like you, if we were to make it the way we'd like it, it'd probably go back to like it is, and you're gonna kind of, you know what I mean, have one of those battles, I think.
What, because he doesn't want the water going in?
No, I'm just saying, if we correct it to the
Right.
way we feel it's supposed to go, he's gonna put it back when we're not looking.
Right, so.
I don't know, but-
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
Possible.
I've seen, this guy's been working on this house for years and years and years, and things are always changing there. It's like it's a never-ending project for him. So it sounds like that house on Hutwell where we sort of like went through 2 or 3 steps before we got the lawyer involved. Sounds like we just need to get the lawyer
So
involved.
focus this, I think we have to do something to make sure that that culvert works. The minimum amount that it needs to work. The drainage along that road has changed where he has a large paved driveway that comes down to his gravel road. His neighbor seems to have paved his driveway in a big parking area and has joined it into his large driveway. So there's a big paved area with 2 houses, 2 roofs that are putting water, and they come down into this road. Now the drainage there was never great, all the way back out to Interlake and Circle. But it washes out, I'd say, a strip that's about 4 feet wide, because there's no ditch, the gravel, when we get a heavy rain, in front of his house, down into this area. And it floods, because the culvert isn't taking any of the water, it floods the low valley of the pitch. It's actually taking gravel out, and you can see the gravel on the grass on his waterfront lot. We put gravel down a month ago or so, and they did.
Mhm.
And that's starting to wash out because nothing is working right there. So I wanted to see if they have a first step plan of how to ensure that the culvert is working. I guess we need to remove some stone from inside of that thing so we can see the mouth of the culvert. Where does that stone go once we take it out of there? Pile it up on his property?
What kind of stone? Like
6
It's
inch
like
stone.
6-inch erosion
Really?
stone.
How'd that get there from the?
Oh, I'm sure he bought it.
Property
Oh.
owner put it.
Oh, are we still talking about?
These spots.
These
Oh,
spots.
okay.
Yep.
So yeah, so I don't know, like you said, how you want us to move forward. If you want us to get the road to start draining again by removing some of that, do we want to talk with the homeowner first in some way, shape, or form? I think it's a slippery slope.
I'm gonna say paper trail, right?
Mhm.
Definitely.
If we need a code word for it, I'll say this is like a mayonnaise operation. How well?
Okay. Oh.
So
Yes.
this means we're gonna do the right things, and our attorney would say, start with Honey,
Mm-hmm.
and then bring her in.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So the Honey letter goes out.
Right.
Does that mean strictly from us?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So we'd like him to remove all the stones that are in that culvert area. We're about to rework it.
So we can ditch the road to the
We
culvert
plan on ditching the road. We plan on adding gravel,
and adding gravel.
a lot of it.
Yeah.
So we're about to undertake a major project with that road,
Yeah.
with the grader.
The grader, the backhoe.
We're gonna truck in a lot of material. We're gonna make sure that culvert works. And we'd like his cooperation, and he needs to get the rock out of there post haste, please.
Okay. But that's
That's a
step
start.
1, and we could do a flow chart. He complies, he doesn't comply.
Paper trail.
Yes.
We document everything we're doing
Yep.
because
Yep.
we know where this is heading.
Yeah.
You okay with that, Jennifer?
Well, with Nancy's assistance.
Yes.
Sure.
You good? Okay.
So we'll move on from that one.
Yep.
Let's jump on to Thusis.
We want this to happen. We should be clear about this. I think you should be able to start work on it. That he needs to have removed all his 6-inch stone in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
mid-October.
we're looking at time as of the essence
Yeah,
of
we
getting
don't have
this
one
road
before the-
projects
The
done.
ground gets kind of
So we
crunchy.
want to kind of move forward with this stuff, yeah,
Yeah, give him a time deadline.
because that's going to be a spot that's going to ice up on us
Yep.
and be a hazard in the wintertime.
And we have other things to do.
Right. So I agree with that.
So as far as getting it written, I could put time into getting it written today, this afternoon. It's a matter of getting it signed and sent out so that we can get action on this in time to fix all this weather-wise. Will you be available to sign it today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow, definitely, tomorrow morning.
So we'll,
Maybe, I have a workman coming in, but if he comes, maybe today, but definitely tomorrow.
we'll call you to see if you can shoot over, or I can even bring it by, see if you can sign
Or
it.
that, yes, if I'm still waiting on the workman.
Okay.
I'll be at home.
We'll
Not
try to
going
get this
anywhere.
out as soon as possible.
Okay.
Okay, I'm out this afternoon.
It's all right. We can write it.
So, moving on to the Thusis.
Yeah.
We took a look at that, so now that we have an idea where those valve cluster
found
cluster
them?
is. But after speaking with you, I got the basic idea. We'll take a shovel and find them. But yeah, we'll have to go in and reshape both ends of that part of the class 6 coming to the class 5. Get that crowned up so the water's gonna go into both sides of the ditches there, and get that ditch and put a little gravel to it to make that work properly and not the way it's working now. So we've got a plan and an idea on what to do there.
Okay.
So that should that should solve the drainage issue there.
That's as it comes into the class 5 road.
Right.
So just to give you some background, we talked about this last week a little bit.
Yeah,
I thought the DPW had fixed the class 5 road because it had water cuts, several of them, 4 of them, where the class 6 road came and dumped all its water right into the curve of the class 5 road into Appinville Way. Because the DPW truck was parked there the day that I brought it up. He had the water tank on the back of it. I didn't see you guys, I think you might have been up.
yeah, we were up talking with the developer there, and
So I'm seeing the road fixed, I'm seeing the DPW truck figuring they fixed the road. No, they didn't fix the road.
we didn't.
The contractor was maintaining the road, but didn't fix the problem that caused it in the first place. So last week I asked during the meeting if he would take a look at it, Jeff would take a look at it and see how we could stop that from happening again, because the contractor's not gonna keep coming back after he sells his next lot. And we have an issue with the way the driveway is on the Thusis class 5, 6 house still. Although that's being changed, that's being worked on. So, further up the hill, I don't know if you've seen it lately, is the class 6 road is blocked altogether.
Right.
With road material,
Yeah.
piles of gravel.
Yep.
But now there's also a big stump that would barely fit in that door opening. In
What?
front of the gravel piles.
Like pulled out, a stump
Yes.
pulled?
Pulled out of the ground and sitting there. So we need to write another letter saying that's a violation of state law. Class 6 roads are subject to gates and bars, which is colonial speak of if you have animals on lots that are on a class 6 road, if you have cows, you have the right to put up a gate or a bar to keep the animals from coming out, but you can't lock the gate.
Right.
That means you can't block the road.
Right.
So he is blocking the road, so we have to tell him that he can't do that, that another honey letter first. Please remove all that material as soon as possible. And then we can start to address the fact that he's non-compliant with the driveway that he put in and so forth, but we'll see about that next.
Why is all the gravel there? For his driveway?
He's working on the lot,
Yeah,
even though he doesn't have a driveway permit.
right, well,
We have to communicate this to the taxpayers, I've been thinking about this, but just to stay focused on the DPW report. So what we're doing is, Jeff is going to stop all of the problems on that class 6 road from coming down and damaging the class 5 road. That's the goal.
That's the
Right.
goal.
So that after he gets a shot at doing that, then we have to continue to fix the class 6 Thusis house driveway, the class 6 Edelboden vacant lot driveway and the fact that the contractor is blocking the Class 6 road as he continues to work on a driveway and lot that he has no permit for.
Right.
So that's another paper trail. We've already communicated about this.
About the driveway permit,
Yep.
to fail, yeah.
But just to stay focused on the DPW, any further on this drainage issue of the Class 5 road protection. Anything else?
And that's what I have.
Any questions for Jeff?
Did you wanna talk about Antiloden blockage?
I think that was
Or
what we
is
just
that-
covered as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
That's
All right.
so that's down below there, but we
Yeah.
covered
Yeah, a
that.
little over a week ago,
That's
we
not a
saw them.
DPW issue right now.
okay,
Okay.
so you're,
Right.
okay,
We'll have to
this
deal
is
with that
something
ourselves,
else.
yes.
Okay, very
But,
good.
but yeah, you know, thinking back now, when they did that job on Deuces and all that, it came right to the end, you know, they were having the issues with the water testing and all that. We were always gonna come in afterwards to reshape the road, the Deuces Class 5 and the Deuces Class 6, and it never happened because winter kinda came in, and the guy laid a lot of gravel in there, and he actually did an okay job in the beginning, and it wasn't as rough as we ever thought it was gonna be when we started plowing, and so we never ever did anything there. But like you're saying, at this point you could see the drainage running right down the middle of the road, not getting into the ditch lines, you know, where the culverts are is higher than the road, so it couldn't get into those pipes anyway at this point. So there is work that we need to do to get that right. So we'll take care of that.
The previous board voted to approve an agreement that they had the contractor right.
Right,
First red flag.
yeah,
We know what contracts look like when that happens.
yeah,
And in that contract, it said the contractor will make the road better than it is.
right.
That was the specification. And
But
so,
this was a different property, correct, at the time?
this is when the Class 6 Thusis house was going to get a water line
Oh,
put in
I see.
by the contractor, because the
Okay.
village didn't have a contractor to do it in time for the contractor to be able to sell this house.
I see.
That's the business we want to get out of, is being pressured by the sale of a house as to when we have to do it. And I have a lot to say about that after we take care of what Jeff is talking about here. So that was the thing, is that the contractor was sitting right next to me, and I said to him, I'm not voting for this because
Right.
the whole thing stunk.
Right.
And, but they had already voted 2-0 to
Right.
approve it, so I was saying to him, this is going through, even though I'm telling you,
Right.
I hate this. And it turned out to be a nightmare for him,
Oh, the whole thing, yeah.
and it's a continuing thorn in our side.
Yeah.
And the lesson is only learned by me, who didn't like it to begin with, because nobody else is here that's
Right.
involved, right?
Right.
And you're still dealing with it.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't up to you to have it fixed up before winter. It was actually a bogus agreement
Right.
in the contract and you were surprised that they were doing anything because they weren't telling you what they put into this contract. because they
No,
didn't
and
know it.
again,
Yeah.
I wasn't part of it, you
Right.
know, so that was somebody else.
So Thusis itself needs gravel as much as all of the roads do.
Exactly. So, you know, we're, like I said, we've got to dig the trench lines down the 6 to the 5
Yeah.
and get them working properly. Haul some material out of there. You know, they put some of that nice little round brown stone and in there and all, you know, whatever we got to do to get rid of what we got to get rid of to make it work the way that you could see. It's obvious higher than it should be, so the water can't get to where it is. The pipe is so much. Whatever. We know what we got to do.
Where Jeff noticed, what I noticed is the old culvert that was going across the corner of that, where Thusis meets Adelboden, Appenville, he handles a lot of water. And
Yeah, it's a big pipe, big culvert.
takes all the water coming down from that part of Rock House Mountain and sends it into the village-owned wetlands where it filters it really, and
Yeah.
then sends it across where Thusis Beach is,
Right.
diagonally across the water into the pond.
Into that
It's
pond.
actually a pretty good filtering setup.
Yeah,
But the input to the culvert was seeing tracks from a skid steer. The rocks around it have been moved, and in the ditch, in the basin, there's the input to the culvert. There's fragments of
like a
landscaping
flagstone
stonework. They brought in
patio.
big pieces of flagstone and made a nice patio, I guess, behind the new house. But all the pieces that the hardscaper chipped away are in the entrance of this culvert, along with the round stones. that-
yeah,
I don't know what the idea was, but here again, somebody's using a skid steer on our road, affecting our drainage system without our approval, and we
Right.
need to have an ordinance where we can make it clear and get their reputation is that you can't mess with our roads, even if you think we should be on top of something and we're behind the schedule. That doesn't mean you get to come out and do whatever you want to our roads.
right, our ditch lines aren't somebody's debris,
Right, well, that's what it
debris
sounds
spot,
like
you know?
For brush, we have
Right.
issues with people letting big
Leaves,
stones go
brush,
in there.
Stones,
We've had people, I know of 2 instances last year that contractors decided to cover our roads with 1.5-inch stone.
right,
It happened on Appinville, it happened on Bristenstock,
yeah,
probably other places that I might not know of.
yeah.
Is that we can't let people do this, so we need a mechanism to make it clear that you don't do that, it's gonna cost you.
Yeah.
More to do.
There's always more to do.
Some more stuff on the plate, but no, that's all I have at this point.
Quick question while Jeff's here on the rafts. Mark, you mentioned the idea of positioning the raft at Boulder so that it's out over the water a little bit to give us space for skaters to put skates on and off. You want us to try to do that if we can?
Yes. Good morning.
Hey guys, how are you, Mark?
Good, how are you?
Same old shit.
Have a seat. You're gonna be able to speak in a minute if you're here to speak.
Yeah, I
We have-
have a question
yeah.
for the lady here.
Oh,
Well, let's just get through this part.
Okay,
You'll,
I'm in a
you'll
hurry.
enjoy the heck out of it. So the idea is that the raft is at the edge of the water, and the skaters sit on it because there's no bench.
Right.
It works out well. But then, I worked at a skating rink for many years, starting at age 12. So you don't want your skates in gravel. So if it's that close to the water, if we just screwed 2 feet where the raft is level, but the feet are actually sticking into the low water mark. That way they're sitting on the edge of the raft, putting their skates on. When they stand up, they're on ice,
They're on ice.
instead of being on sand, walking down to get on the ice.
Right, that,
And the 2 feet would make it impossible for a teenager in the early spring to drag the raft out early because it's not sliding anymore. It's
right.
got 2 dig-in feet like the backhoe.
Yeah, see, now, in theory, it's a great thing. And I'm not gonna say
Well, you
that
can
it's
shoot-
not gonna work.
It's an idea that needs to be,
But the
shot at.
problem is, we pull these tomorrow, and now we do a drawdown,
it
and,
moves.
you know, and in the winter, you know, maybe it gets drawn down even more, whatever. Now, you just don't know where that freeze line's gonna
Right.
be at this point. And then even in the springtime, when it fills back up the
Yeah.
pond, is that thing gonna be floating? If the water level comes up now in the spring, you know what I mean?
Yeah, good.
So there's a couple of, like I said, in theory, it sounds like a great idea, but there has to be some, I don't know yet, you know? When you do the drawdown, it's gonna change the pond, and then come spring, it may change as well. So there's, you know,
That'd be,
that's,
so let's not do it this year, but let's see what the range is of low tide and high tide.
right,
It's
because,
not gonna change that.
you know, like you say, a couple cinder blocks or something like that on that end, having it sit there, in theory, it sounds like a perfect idea. Like you say, a little bench, they hop off, they're right on they skate, you could even shovel a little path so they
Brandon
have a way
does.
to go.
He had a path.
Oh, yeah, Brandon does a
Back
nice
to
job.
Back to the raft.
Right, so,
So
you
let's
know,
hold off, let's look at it this year and see.
yeah, with the drawdown of the pond, we'll have a better idea where that line would be, and maybe the drawdown could be a little sooner next year or something, so when we
You
do.
only have a very short window you can do the drawdown according to the ordinance.
Right, but if that had changed or something like that, and the drawdown was earlier in the season when the rafts got pulled out, we'll know where that water line is. That's all I was gonna say, you know, I know what the ordinance is now, so I know the window of that.
Yeah, we
But-
won't get to change the ordinance
But-
for ice skating. That's
Yeah,
not gonna happen.
well,
So let's do what you're gonna do anyway and
Right.
watch it and see, let's take some measurements to see whether,
Yeah,
yeah,
This
cause
is
it's a great idea,
hold off on it.
but, okay,
but maybe it can be, in your estimation, put as close to the water line that you feel comfortable that it's not gonna be affected by
right.
either extreme.
Right, because in the spring, you know, obviously we could see that, oh geez, the water level's coming way up. Maybe we gotta get out there and pull it a little further up the beach, you know what I mean? That's easy to do, but in the dead of the winter or something like that, moving it could be a
Mark,
little
what I
more
was thinking
tougher.
about for tomorrow is to, if we put it right at the water line, maybe a little bit hanging over with 2 cinder blocks under those 2 skids. And then we can see how much of a gap opens up with the drawdown.
Right.
At least it'll be closer,
Right,
for this winter.
Yeah.
right.
Can I make a suggestion? The water level is down 1.5 feet on the lakes right now, according to the rock at Big Loop. You know, the big rock that's in it, it's down about 1.5 feet, so you might wanna consider that.
Yeah.
It's really gonna
In the
flood,
spring.
you know, rise up.
And that's before we even pull any boards out of the dam.
Right,
Right.
yeah,
down
before we
pretty
do
low
the
right now.
That's
drawdown.
low, we have.
That happens
lot
mid-October.
dry.
Yeah.
You have between October 10th and 15th to pull a 5 or an 11-inch board.
So it's going to
So
go down more.
You got 5 days to draw down.
Yeah, you guys let me know and I'll pull whatever you
Okay.
want me to pull.
All set in that? All set in Jeff?
Yep. All right, I'll get back at it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Got it.
When is it typical for people to start getting their equipment off the racks?
After the holiday in November.
Oh,
Right,
Yeah.
after
really?
like November
November 11th.
13th or something
Okay.
like
We
that.
used to do it sooner because we used to get snowstorms that were heavy in October that could croak the rafts.
Right.
Then letting people have their boats right until the water was about to freeze,
I see.
and which,
Okay.
Mhm.
it's been like that for years, and I guess
Yeah.
the racks have
Survived.
done okay so far, until we have a storm that really croaks them, but,
Right.
so, that's the way it is.
Okay.
All right. See you
Thanks,
later.
Jeff.
So we have scheduled appearances next. Do you want to see if Bob has some comments for us? or-
Sure.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Otherwise, he'd have to wait to public comments, which is way further down in the agenda.
I'm here on a mission and I think she's gonna help me. I had a tree
What's his
come-
name? I'm sorry.
Bob Simmons.
Thank you.
I had a tree come down and it destroyed my shelter, my tent, whatever you wanna call it, shed. And the tree is on the next guy's land, okay? The only access to that tree is through my property. But it came down real close to the house. It's probably yay round. The whole top came off the tree on one side of it, okay? I'm cleaning up the mess, I don't have a problem doing that, okay? But I can't get a hold of the owner. Number one, there's no house number on the property, okay? It's the big log cabin on Wallsboro. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay, so I need the property owner's name, address, phone number, so that I can confront them first to remove what's left of the tree, because there's enough there. There's a couple of big spikes that are like 60 feet high at least. And when they come down, the whole tree is dead, and when they come down, they're gonna hit my house.
If you need to know the mailing address for your neighbor, you can go right upstairs.
I
And
know, but you gotta get the lot number out of the book and all that stuff, and I figured.
not really,
They
you just
have
need
it.
to know your house number. It's online too. You can,
I'm not good with computers, Mark.
but they have it upstairs. Tell them your house number. They'll tell you the house number next to you and tell you a lot number of it and give you the mailing address, name and mailing address, the people who are paying the taxes on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do you think they'd have the phone number up there?
Maybe not.
It's
That's-
possible,
It's
but
possible, but it's not in the database.
it's not necessarily.
Nice to see you.
Yeah,
Nice
thank
and
you.
healthy, thank you. I'm glad, really good.
She's running the show here now.
She's a good girl. You know that.
Yes, I
Been
do.
a long time. So that was my mission today, guys.
So you,
Yeah,
Okay.
one-stop shopping.
yeah.
Okay, there's no recourse through Idlewise to get them to move their ass to cut the tree down.
No, that's between, that's
no.
civil. That's between you and the neighbor, that's not us.
How about a safety issue? Would I be able to, you think, go to the town here and the fire department or whatever and say I have a safety issue?
I don't, you just asked me my opinion.
Yeah,
And-
that's all, yeah.
Just based on what I've learned over the years is that it's two abutting lots, it has nothing to do with the government, they'll tell you it's a civil issue.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah, but I do believe they certainly should be able to give you whatever information they have for who the neighbor's owner, you know, who the owner is and where you can get in touch with them.
It's nice to see we're still here on Earth, I'm not,
Jeez. Still upright and bothering people.
That's it.
I just turned 82.
Well, good for you.
Oh, I won't catch you.
Well, I've been here a long time. Nothing new, everything's good.
Everything's good.
We have plenty to do, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, if I could ever be in any help, y'all, I'm up here almost all the time, you know. I'm still a resident of Madison, so,
Mhm.
Okay.
so if you need me, yell. And thank you, I'm sorry to take up your time.
It's good seeing you, Bob.
It's good to see you.
Okay, guys, be good, huh?
Good luck.
Yeah, I know I'm gonna need it.
Hope you have a wood stove for the wood that they deliver to your house.
Well, the tree is dead, it's not even worth burning. It's real
Punky?
crap.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But
That
it's
makes it no fun.
one big tall son of a gun.
Oh, man.
Missed the house maybe by this much this time,
Wow.
so. Well, I just didn't wanna get into a peeing contest with somebody unnecessarily, but it's gonna wind up that probably, right? How do I go upstairs?
There's
Right, that's
that
it.
door,
That's taken,
right?
yep.
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 I thank you,
Right
it's
through
nice to
there.
see everybody.
Continue. So at 9:52,
9:51.
9:51, we'll go to administrator's report.
Okay, there's nothing.
You don't have anything this week?
Nope.
Okay. But it looks like we'll go at 9:51, we'll go to old business, which has a list this week.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
First on the list is profit loss and bank statements. Table for next week.
Yes.
So evidently, 9:30 came and went, and we don't see the water operator at this meeting, and we postponed the profit and loss statement because we were gonna be with the water operator, right?
Right.
It was always the first
Well,
Tuesday of the month, correct?
Yeah. If reconciliation hasn't happened on September bank statements anyway, because I haven't gotten them yet. It's still too early, so,
So you might get them,
This
either way,
week,
we'd like to see the
hopefully.
profit and loss statement next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And should we assume the water operator may show up next week? We don't know.
We won't know. We could certainly
We can reach out to them and ask.
reach out and see if we get a response this time.
Okay. So let's plan on at least the P and L next week.
yeah.
And if you can get the bank statements, that's good. Class 6 A boat and blockage, kind of talked about that already with
Mhm.
Jeff.
Yep, we did.
Chadwick Barras, I'll make a motion that we release the check.
Second.
You saw my interactions,
Mhm.
email interactions with them answering my questions.
Yep.
Mhm.
$178 an hour.
That's a lot.
Mm.
But
That's a steep labor rate. Wow. Maybe, but
That's specialized work though.
Yeah.
yes,
That's the problem.
yeah, it's very specialized.
sure they got a
So-
monopoly there.
All in favor of releasing that check?
Aye.
3-0. Credit card application. Checklist sent to the bank.
Yes. Yes, Dinah and I worked on that yesterday and made sure that we pulled the proper information. And one of the things that they were looking for was either articles of incorporation.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was I found the original petition from Edelweiss to the town of Madison when the village was being first set up and the reasons why the district became. So we sent that off to the bank, and now it's in their hands to see whether or not that's gonna be appropriate, but that's what we found easily and were able to get to them.
Did we ask anybody at town hall if there's any other kind of documentation?
We haven't. If we get a follow-up question from the bank, going to Madison for minutes of that annual meeting in '79 would be the next thing to pull.
Okay.
Sounds like a job for the village clerk.
Well, we actually, Donna and I had a full conversation going, we thought we might have found that when we were going through the very old documents last summer, or a year ago, up at the cabana, but we weren't gonna ask at this point to try to see if we could find it there, when I'm pretty sure that if the bank comes back and says we need more, town hall will be able to give it to us.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Next is a bullet for a roundtable meeting.
Yes.
Should we call it a roundtable meeting? Let's give it a name so that we're talking about the same thing. I was calling it a special meeting. Roundtable's
I
fine.
think probably a special meeting. I just noticed on your correspondence with Sloan that you had the wrong date. You said September 26th, when I think you meant October 26th.
Yes.
Okay.
The other option that I got was that this room might be available. So the first question is, do you have a preference on the room, whether it's this room or the library?
As long as Madison TV can record at either location, I don't really have any druthers.
Well, it's their option.
Yeah.
I guess it's easier for them to come here, but I wouldn't bind it to that.
Can they do live broadcasting from the library, the chick room? Can Madison TV do live broadcasting from the chick room at the library, or is it only here?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I haven't been
This
down
is
there.
all hardwired and
Right.
Right.
Right. I understand
I
that.
think
So
they
it
can.
can go over, YouTube and all that stuff. I get that.
it's easier
It's just a
here.
matter of
Right.
setting up the computer.
Right.
That's why I think probably the best option is here if it's available, but otherwise the library is.
So let's pick the date. Let's drive a stake in the sand and say it's this room. And now what date? You saw, I did a survey on social media and it was
Yep.
overwhelming that a weekend is
Weekend
preferred.
was
Weekends are
preferred
preferred,
one.
yep.
And mornings were also pretty clearly the
Yep.
way to go. So I'm thinking 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock on a
Yeah.
Saturday morning?
Yes.
Yep.
So what Saturday morning at 10 o'clock in this room would you like it to be? This
Well,
being October 1st, so you have the 12th is when the foliage walk by the EPOA is happening.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
so
all-
we don't wanna do it then.
It's also Yom Kippur, so.
Right. So it's basically, the 5th is too soon, that's this Saturday.
Right.
Yep.
19th or 26th. I thought the 26th was ideal because that gives a real long lead time to keep telling people over and over. It takes repetition for this to sink into people.
I'll make a motion that we see if we can secure this room for 10 a.m. on Saturday, October 26th, for our special meeting of the commissioners. And I'll go up and ask after this meeting, and if it's available, we announce it on the website and through other means,
Mhm.
but not through the sandwich signs of the EPOA.
Do you
I'll
want
second
That's a
that.
motion, is second?
I'll second
Second,
that.
yep.
Any further discussion on that? It's just to set the date and the time and
No,
location
yeah, no.
and secure the.
And it sounded like there was a lot of people interested in
Good.
It's
coming to
the
this
option
meeting.
of Madison TV if they want to record it or not,
Right.
and send it live to YouTube. So that's,
Mark, you wanna try to do a Zoom access for folks, or just make it an in-person for this one?
I personally would not like to complicate it.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
gets
first
awfully
It is a
complicated.
complication.
Right.
We're going to
Yeah.
see how it goes. I'd like to speak, I've been thinking about it a little bit, what I'd like to do on the 26th is start by having people say what subjects they want to talk about and write them down, then have the group decide the order that we're going to talk about it. And if it's a personal issue, that we'll try to address it at the end, instead of saying, no, you have to come to a commissioners meeting. But if there's time, we'll try to address it.
Right.
But see what subjects they come up with, and then which subjects have the bigger majority of the people interested in that subject, and put them in that order. That's my,
Yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense.
see how that goes.
Community-wide issues
Right.
are on the minds of most people.
Because we're doing this day in, day out, week to week. The issues we have aren't the same issues that they see, so.
Right,
Just hear what they,
right here, what they have to say.
Well, except for the groupies who watch us on Madison TV.
and agree with everything that we're doing, right?
Yeah.
All right, so the 26th it is. Next on the agenda is a VDOE policy, DPW resources for owner request or donation.
Yeah,
I guess
big-
donation doesn't have to be part of this, it's the request.
correct, it's the request.
Yeah, any kind of request for us to,
Request, and basically, I think we just made a slight change to the wording in the way that motion was done, or that discussion. Basically, I just pulled that from the discussion from last week's minutes and said, this is a real issue, it's something that we should be working towards setting a policy for. So I simply just kind of used the minutes as my
Yeah.
template to start this, just to get it going. Because when you come across something that is that level of an issue, then we should be talking the possibility of setting up policies, even like you're just saying, we're gonna have to come up with something for drainage and making sure that people can't, that's stuff that will wind up in policies. If they're not already in
the ordinance?
in either in an ordinance or state law, which we can also create policies that reiterate state law so that everybody has them easily available for them. But that was why I sent that around last week as.
Yeah, can we read this? I love the way this, with the exception of one word I'd like to talk about, but otherwise, yeah. Okay, this is the way it reads, the way Nancy wrote it, VDOE policy. The VDOE will not use highway resources for any property owner's personal request. Any property owner who requests use of VDOE DPW resources for their own individual purpose or to provide a donated service for a chosen entity outside of the district will not be allowed. I love all the wording except for I would change allowed to approved. That's the only change I would recommend.
Yeah, like we did earlier on the minutes. And we all agreed.
So, the difference between using those two words could also be, take this perspective is, does the DPW know that there's a policy that says that it's not allowed or it's approved? We're talking about what we approve and don't approve and what they're allowed to do.
Right, they can't, we've mentioned many times, there's things that can't be done. You can't bring sand or something to a property, to a private owner. You can't, there's things that it's just not appropriate to use district equipments to do.
Can you put both words in?
You can.
Can we use both?
Yes. I like
Okay, you
both.
could say,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just thinking, will neither be approved or allowed.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Right, because we know there was some snow plowing done in the past.
Well, I know there's a couple of property owners that are near corners that ask every spring, every fall, whether or not the DPW can bring some sand so that if the hill gets icy, they'll spread it. We can't do that.
Right.
You know, so.
Correct answer is, you go get your own sand. We're
Right.
giving it away free up at DPW too. Good
Right,
deal.
right, and this would allow, it would give Jennifer as well, something to point to and say, sorry, that can't be happening, see policy, whatever. And she'll have something that she can refer to, as well as the highway guys will have something to refer to.
Right. No,
You
this is
know?
great. This is great.
So,
So neither approved nor allowed.
okay,
That works.
that works for me.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. You can sign. Do we have a copy to sign?
well, we just changed a couple of
We're
words,
gonna
so.
change this. Wouldn't it be
All
an
right.
official VDOE
Yeah.
letterhead and all that, so it could go in the books of ordinances?
Right,
Okay.
Signature items, driveway permit for construction revoke letter, 13 deuces.
yeah, we had held that one off because we had sent them the letter saying that they didn't have the negative grade and that there was some, water coming from the lot. So we hadn't included that address in with the original revoke letters.
So this is being revoked because,
Cause we sent them 3 letters and they haven't
They haven't
responded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another one
Yeah,
of those.
you guys approved this last
Non-respondents.
meeting,
Has
it's
it-
just
has it
physically
expired?
done.
Oh, yeah,
oh, that's the reason, is it expired.
yeah, it's
You have
very,
opportunity to fix it.
it's expired, we
expired.
sent him 2
Okay.
letters to fix it and he hasn't.
Got it.
Bond's expired, everything's
But didn't you point out this was the same homeowner that requested to be put on the email list for when there's water outages?
That's a separate issue,
I
but
know.
yes,
No,
it
no.
is the same property owner.
No, that's no problem that they want to be on that list, but it's like they are paying attention to some things, but not others.
Right. Well, they might have noticed that they didn't have water.
Yeah, that tends to get your attention.
It does.
Did we make a motion and second this?
You did last meeting, last week, we just physically didn't have a
So make
letter
a
to
motion and we
sign.
sign this letter?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Aye. Just so you hear the word.
Next is yard debris, 3-person stock.
Yeah, use the same letter that, or the same general letter that we sent to the person that was putting stuff in the ditch line on St. Moritz. And, cause we've had multiple statements over the last couple of years, last couple of weeks, that this person is putting rocks and other things in the ditch line, so.
He's nearly working around the clock, man. You can hear that all over the district. It's crazy.
Motion to sign a letter to 3-person stock.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. What time do we have?
It is now 10:08.
At 10:08, we'll go to commissioners' reports. And I'll start off. I've been communicating with a property owner on Bristenstock that is interested in acquiring a lot that's next to their lot, and merging it. They want room to put a garage, and they are planning on retiring to their Idlewild house and want to live there full-time and want a garage as part of this. So they may be the first people that take advantage or use the green space ordinance that we voted in last year. The interesting thing about it is the lot they want to acquire, I seem to remember a lady that owned it for years complained about the taxes that she was paying on it, and it had water through it, so it wasn't really a buildable lot by itself, if I remember this correctly. But I was surprised to see that the ordinance says, the green space ordinance says that the bidding has to start at the assessed value of the tax records. And the assessed value of the lot that they want is $16,000. So if the voters decide that this is a acceptable deal for them, that they think that letting them acquire it, merge it, which keeps it as green space because it doesn't become another building site for a house with a septic system, a driveway and so forth. So we'll see whether they go for it, but I never considered the revenue to be of that size. That's where the bidding starts. You know, contested lot with other property owners around that also want the lot. Could be interesting. So that's that one. FEMA starts again this Thursday, I believe.
Lucky you.
Yeah. And I have to see where we are. I think that the projects have all been signed off on. And I'd like to focus on what they call mitigation, and mitigation for possible Grissom culvert, and mitigation possibly for getting reimbursed for drainage that we intend on doing, particularly 6-inch stone and ditch lines to stop storm erosion, causing FEMA to have to come in and reimburse us again. That's why they like to do mitigation like this. And I've been thinking, up and through last week, I was thinking, you know, the biggest storm that we had was a 5-inch rainstorm in 2011. And it seems to me that more damage happened to the village during that storm than happened during this storm. And I think part of that is things that we did to fix the damage in 2012 didn't get damaged again, such as Middle Shore Drive and Oak Ridge Road.
Right.
Jungfrau had damage again because Jungfrau has got a physical makeup that more had to be done than what we did at the end of that project. Then there was an 8-inch rainstorm this summer in Connecticut, in one part of Connecticut,
Yeah,
and there's another
Fairfax,
8-inch rainstorm in Vermont, which flooded badly one little piece of Vermont. 8 inches, I was thinking. What would happen to us with 8 inches? Now I'm looking at Tennessee and North Carolina, 30 inches
Oh, God.
in a 36-hour period.
Yeah.
It's the time also. It's the
Right.
amount of rain and the time. But wow,
Right.
Yeah.
can we ever get 20? We would close down.
Oh,
The
yeah.
town would have to close down at
Yeah.
20.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of towns.
So I was thinking, can we mitigate a 12-inch rainstorm, a 20-inch rainstorm?
I don't think so.
What did we get in 2023? Those 4 or 5 inch?
It was 4 plus.
4 plus.
Right.
So I think the question is, can we mitigate double that? I think that's about the best you can hope for.
It's kind
Right.
of interesting
Yeah.
to say, what are we shooting for here?
Yeah,
Right.
I think once you get beyond that, it's like you're in the hands of
The
God.
ditches are bigger than the roads.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that brings me to this new and improved, actually, it's just an improved illustration of what we have in our driveway ordinance.
Yes.
This is from the state's website, if you want to take a look at this. You might even hold it up to the camera
Yeah,
for
you can hold that
Carol
up
for a
to the camera
second,
so that
on
you-
your way back to your seat.
Right side up?
He makes a good van.
thank you.
Now, one of the things the first thing I'll have you notice in this is the date in the lower left corner. This diagram was drawn, this illustration was drawn in 2006. The version that's in our ordinance has in the right corner, lower corner, when it was accepted by the village. It was accepted by the village with a date that's prior to the creation of the document. So I have no idea what went on with that. So this has been in our ordinance for as long as I can remember. Let's say that this has been in our ordinance for at least 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm noticing things about it that I never noticed before because maybe it wasn't readable. So let's start with the top diagram. The first thing is on the far left side of the page, it says edge of shoulder. So that this little block over here is the road itself, the travel surface of the road.
Yep.
So, because we have been out at these driveways together looking at these things, we haven't been using this diagram with us. But the first thing I want you to notice is the size of the platform, what they're calling the platform. This is how they get the dead bodies out of
20
town
inch.
hall. you know.
Right. There's a couple in here apparently.
And it's the same drawing in the ordinance
Yeah.
from '06.
What's the, you have the drawing?
Yeah, I got the ordinance right here.
Look at the date in the lower right corner. The VDOE's date.
If you can even read it.
Okay, so it would have been updated because it became that says 1995.
But look at what's in the right corner of the same drawing. It's got the 11/27/2006.
Right. So it's something that would have been updated somewhere after the original driveway ordinance came in.
Right.
Okay. So look at the size of the platform. From the edge of the road to where the grade of the driveway isn't part of what we've been calling the negative grade. So first thing is they have something that's called a 20-foot minimum desirable platform before you start into the grade of the driveway that goes onto the lot. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's the size of this thing.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, now, they say it's variable as to where the bottom of the ditch line is, where the culvert is from the road. But they show two arrows, there's two little arrows, going from the surface of the road, they're indicating the water's gonna flow away from the road towards the middle of the platform.
Mhm.
There's an arrow on the other side of the platform showing the water going away from the rest of the driveway to the center of this thing,
Mm-hmm.
which they have right over the culvert.
Right.
So, if this is what driveways are supposed to look like, there aren't many of them in our ways that look like this.
No. No. They're not.
And the ones we're approving don't even look like this. They're closer to this thing by the fact that we're having some kind of negative grade,
Right.
but they don't look like this. And I wonder if this is the state of New Hampshire specification on how you come into a New Hampshire road,
Mm-hmm.
such as 113 or 16. And I wonder how many of their driveways actually look like this.
I'm going to say this is the ideal, and that many do not even come close to the ideal.
Now, the next thing I want you to look at is how they have the break point where, on the right side, where the platform ends and now you're into the grade of the driveway going uphill. The top diagram's for an uphill lot. The bottom
Right.
diagram's for a below the road lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at the break point, the grade steepens and it starts to go uphill. And then you're gonna see, looks like the number 4, but it's actually A's. You see A's on either side of the grade?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That relates to this drawing that's just to the right of that, where it's showing a cross-section, a different cross piece of the driveway itself. See the A's?
Yeah.
So they're showing you on either side of the driveway going uphill from the platform, it's saying needs to be ditched.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at this diagram for 20 years. I never saw that it's saying the driveway needs to be ditched all the
On
way
the
up
backside, sides.
above the platform where the negative grade goes into. So it's the ditching of the grade that brings the water into the ditch before it can make it to the road. We do have driveways. It seems to me the contractors are now starting to ditch the driveways themselves, particularly when they have a steep lot. But those ditches are going to drain with some force coming downhill. So I think they need to be rip-wrapped also. I don't think any prospective house builder, a landowner that wants to build a house, is going to understand this diagram at all. I think we're proving to ourselves they don't understand it.
I'm still having trouble. You're saying what we call negative grade needs to be ditched?
This is saying that the driveway needs to have these ditches on either side of it.
Oh, on either side, oh,
See, this is a cross-section going, this is showing you a side cross-section.
Okay.
This is showing you a front cross-section of the road. Here's the travel, here's the car coming down the driveway.
right,
On either side of the driveway coming downhill,
needs to be ditched.
needs to be ditched. Those ditches are gonna run into the
Into,
platform area where it enters into the road ditch on either side of the culvert.
right, okay, got it.
Now, it's
okay.
gonna come down with force
Yep,
unless the ditches are rip-wrapped on the driveway. We've seen these steep driveways.
Yep.
It's gonna rip down there, and then it's gonna come down and hit the ditch. The ditch wall has to be rip-wrapped to take the impact of the water coming out of the driveway ditches.
I've certainly seen some ditches on one side of the driveway, but I've seen very few driveways that have it on both.
Very few, but I'm noticing more of the newer ones are putting them in themselves. The one on Appinville Way, the prefab house that
Oh,
was
the-
put in, they
right.
put the two driveways in just so they can get the house in there and took one of the driveways out.
Right,
Look at the way that that's wrapped
the brand new construction, okay,
and ditched.
right.
And one up on Bristenstock is ditched on both sides with no platform, no negative grade. Goes right out into the road, but they ditched both sides of it. We have to get after that one. So what I'm getting at is, people have been putting in driveways that don't conform to this at all to save money and cost the village money in maintaining the road that they're impacting. That we need to see in our driveway application much more acknowledgement that this is how the driveway has to go in. Now, the key to this is in this diagram where it says cut slope. See the cut slope versus the actual grade of the driveway as it relates to the old ground at the top of the picture.
Yeah,
This is implying that you're gonna be taking a lot of material out of there to construct this driveway to meet these slopes.
how much of a grade of someone's property does there need to be when this applies? In other words, there's plenty of flat driveways that this isn't gonna apply to at all.
Right.
These are properties that are up on a hill.
Or down.
Or down.
Down, yeah.
On the downhill side.
Yep.
The bottom diagram is for the downhill side. This is the downhill driveway.
Okay, the downhill driveway.
Right.
This is, yep,
But it's the ones that are uphill of our roads that create the biggest issue.
correct.
And so, and I would say the steeper the grade, the more of an issue it's going to be. So,
The ones that are downhill that have a slope that rips into their driveway and they complain that we're putting water from our road into their driveway and cutting it up. Here, the bottom one is saying you have to change the grade so that it's a softer grade, that the water doesn't accelerate coming into your driveway to the break point.
so you gotta put fill in to decrease the grade.
Yep. And the notes on the side specify what the grade of the driveway is beyond the platform. We don't look at that at all, but it's been in the ordinance with this diagram all
Right.
along.
So as we revise the driveway ordinance, it seems like this particular diagram has got to be really, really highlighted, brought to the attention. I know it's in there now.
It's gotta be explained.
It totally explains.
Right now, there's simply the very small
Yeah.
version
This needs to become a full page.
of
like
this. And
Yeah.
that is one of the comments that I had made prior, that we gotta get this into its own page, and Exhibit 3, we should have a better picture of that as well.
Which I can get you.
Yeah.
And they will have their own pages. Each one should be
Yeah.
on its own. A portion of these requirements, we have, as we've been looking at driveways, we've made comments on the distance from the road for the grade, the negative grade at the road, culverts, the placement of culverts. These are all comments that we've made over the course of reviewing and looking at the ordinance for potential changes. But I think a lot of this needs to be put in specifically in the construction section of the driveway ordinance.
Okay, yeah.
So let me back up to a bigger picture here. So this is a lot more complex than what we've acknowledged before, what we've realized before.
Yeah,
First thing is, do we want this to be the standard, to be strictly adhered to? Or is there some judgment wiggle room on this kind of stuff? Now, put the driveway, the specifics of this driveway specification aside for a second and back up to the recent knowledge of the fact that the state DES is requiring lots in Idlewice who can't put a well and a septic system on the lot with safe distances between the septic and the source of the potable water, the drinking water, that they require that house, in order to be able to put a septic system on it, connect to the water system. But the state also points out the village is under no obligation to connect you to the water system. They can require the lot owner to say you have to connect to the water system if you want a septic system on there. But don't require us to actually provide it if we don't want to
Right.
or can't. That means that there's certain leverage there. Combine this with the fact that water operator is saying there's a problem with the homeowner, the contractor specifying where the curb stop goes for a water connection as it relates to where is the septic system on the site. And they change where the septic system is going. So the village is obligated to have better control over where the placement of the curb stop is in relationship to the septic system. So the contractor and the homeowner like to put the curb stop where the driveway is going because they've already cleared that land. They don't have the
Right.
roots and stumps they have to
Right.
go through. If we say the water line has to go over here,
yep,
they don't want to hear that. So we need to specify in detail almost have drawings of everything. The septic system is gonna go over here. This is where the curb stop is gonna go. This is where the driveway is gonna go. Right before the driveway construction permit is given. Nancy's been pointing out to us, the ordinance says that you have to have the septic design as part of your application for the driveway
Yes.
permit. Well, there we're halfway.
We're
into
halfway
this
there
big
to get
picture.
there, right?
Is that we need to not only have the plans that they give us for the certified plot plan that shows where the foundation of the house is going, where the septic system is going, but we have to have the drawings show this is where the curb stop is gonna go, this is where the driveway is gonna go, and this is how the driveway is gonna be constructed according to the specifications of the
Ordinance.
ordinance. All that is part of the driveway approval.
Yes,
You can't build your house if you have a lot that the state is saying you need a water hookup. We're not gonna give you a water hookup unless we know where the septic is gonna go, where the driveway is gonna go, where the curb stop is gonna go, because we're obligated to protect the water system from a curb stop being too close to your septic system. So we're not
Right.
gonna give you the driveway permit unless you've got this all nailed down.
Wow.
So now the cost to the contractor, the homeowner that's gonna build, is gone up because the drawings, the application for the driveway permit needs a full engineering, including the cross sections of the driveway. Where's your platform? Where's your 20-foot minimum platform? This is a question we never asked before.
right,
Would say we don't see a negative grade.
correct.
The definition of a negative grade changed for me after I got a better copy of what it is.
What this actually says.
Okay,
Now, how are
so,
we gonna explain this?
yeah.
Go,
We need help.
take it. Take
Um,
it with it.
I was just gonna say that, you know, we know we're gonna revise the driveway ordinance and try and make it clear and really emphasize this. And this is great for going forward for all new construction. I was just asking, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of properties in Idahoe now that don't even conform to what all three of us have been trying to do with their inspections over the past several months. But yeah, I mean, this, you gotta start somewhere.
Okay.
So going forward.
If driveways
going
are
forward,
damaging the roads,
we can take action, yes, we know that.
if they're gonna have to comply to this to fix the problem of them damaging the roads. Let's say this one. Last week, Jennifer was bringing up the issue of two property owners that had letters of
Revoke.
Yeah, they
revocation
finally
of-
got revoked, yes.
Okay, and I was thinking about that is, the way the conversation was going, it appeared that she was pointing out that these property owners weren't getting a clear message as what they were supposed to do.
Not at all.
And we were answering that by saying it's right in the letter that they have to conform to the driveway ordinance. And what was really happening, I think, is she's dealing with people who have the driveway, because she was saying that,
Yeah,
don't understand why it is that we're coming after them now.
Right.
Well, that's gonna be true when we're coming after people who've had their driveway for 45 years.
Yep.
yeah.
Why are you coming after me now? Well, your road has been damaging, your driveway has been damaging the road, having us have to fix the potholes in front of it.
That's a straightforward answer, though.
Yeah,
That makes
that's more,
perfect sense.
that's
Well,
more.
That's the, if we had taken that to what Jennifer was pointing out, we could have said, instead of focusing on the fact that the letter was telling them what they had to do,
Right.
is to say, we need to go and look at
Look at
these
these.
driveways to see whether they're damaging the road,
Yep.
as to whether it's a priority for us, and how we're gonna deal with people whose driveways aren't in strict compliance with this,
Correct,
but are not damaging the road.
right.
Yeah, so that's basically the criteria.
So I'm thinking our answer should have been, if you are not answering us because we're writing to you saying you don't have a permit to operate. It should say, we're coming out to look at your driveway to see whether it's damaging the road, whether you actually should have gotten a permit to operate or not. And I'm thinking we have to decide whether it's an issue of us deciding, in the highway department, deciding that your driveway isn't damaging the road, or whether it just doesn't conform to this. I don't think that we're gonna make people invest in having to change their driveways to conform to this, if it's not damaging the road. And I'd like to, if that could be a vote at annual meetings so that the legislative body agrees with that, because this is a major issue.
Right,
It is a major
This
issue.
was thousands of dollars.
right,
Not only the village is paying because of bad driveways, but what it's gonna cost some bad driveways to correct it.
and just that it's out there. All provisions of this ordinance will apply to all driveways within the boundaries of the village district of Idlewise, including those driveways constructed prior to this ordinance. It's right there.
Yeah, you
It's the
pointed
first-
that out.
it's the
way
first
early.
paragraph.
I remember, yeah.
You
Okay,
know?
but are we gonna be rigid that this applies 100% across the board, or are we making that criteria that, yes, your driveway does not conform to the ordinance, but on the other hand, it's creating no damage to the road whatsoever?
I think right now, we're gonna separate out anything that's not damaging the road and start with ones that are damaging the road. And then we'll see how things go moving forward.
Okay.
But the roads are, to me, the thing that we need to protect, because we shouldn't be going back to the same roads in the same area consistently all summer long because the driveway is wiping out the road.
But then going forward, all new construction, yeah,
Yes.
we can, and I would also maybe say if, let's say, okay, the driveway's not damaging the road, but now they want to asphalt it, then boom,
Right,
go back to this.
right, go back to this. You know, we mentioned the one that got paved recently, up on Blinden, and we said, we specified the negative grade.
Correct.
Yeah, and they didn't do it.
It doesn't appear that that was done, so we have that on a watch list for the winter, to see whether or not there's gonna be any ice or any issues with the road. So, you know, we're certainly, I don't think our first thing is gonna be to throw a hammer at people and say, you need to redo your entire driveway because it's bad, you know?
Okay, that makes perfect sense to me.
And the DPW says to us, do the taxpayers realize how much this is costing them to have these driveways? Well, after that, I couldn't think of how I could quantify that
But,
without logs of what had to be done right in front of that driveway and taking pictures of how it damages the road after every storm. There are, you probably already know of driveways that have slopes into them, that after every rainstorm, there's 4 puddles in the road in front of that driveway.
Yeah.
I've watched the same
Yep.
driveways for years doing it. I don't think we got to a point that we were having paved driveways, could put those drainage strips across them, these 3-inch wide drainage strips, but those have to be maintained. And that's not part of what this says at all.
right,
So maybe the round tables will give us an opportunity to start to talk about this and get feedback. But that's not listening to them, that's coming in with an agenda, which we won't do at this next meeting unless they raise the issue, which I doubt that this is an issue that they have.
and then we could have a second, have another, meeting somewhere after we have the first one, you know, see how that goes.
Yeah, I thought we
See
were
whether or
gonna-
not people are
Yeah,
interested.
this isn't a one shot.
Yeah.
And have one that we focus on the driveway ordinance, you know, and start prior to setting a public hearing to change the driveway ordinance, which at this point, we may want to have the changes at the annual meeting.
Yeah.
You know, that's always an option. That's the ultimate public hearing. You know, so depending on whether or not we're ready to do something prior to that, because we're about to get busy.
Like they haven't been busy.
Yeah, but now we're really about to get busy because it's time to start thinking about things like next year's budget, the annual meeting, how we're gonna set everything up, what we want on warrant articles, it's time to start thinking about this stuff, you know?
But I think it behooves us to have a meeting with the public invited that just, it presents our draft of the new driveway ordinance and explain why and what's going into it, get feedback before we come up with a final version.
Right. Yeah,
It almost seems to me
And try
like
and knock that out before the annual meeting, so that doesn't become another thing for our
Correct.
annual
is the
meeting.
driveway ordinance becomes a book. Because now it has septic design as a greater part of it, and the curb stop, the driveway, the curb stop, the service line, the septic system. It's kind of like, the questions we've always gotten is, I'm interested in buying a lot, what do I have to do to build a house on an otherwise lot? You get those questions, you got them for years. They were happening back in 1978. And now the answer is, here, read this book.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to understand everything about this drawing.
No, they're gonna want you to explain it to them.
Well, they should read it first.
I immediately translate that to, they're gonna want you to explain it to
That's
them.
what I'm saying.
That's why you said that to me.
yep,
Well, I think the answer is read
That's
it,
called,
read
the
it,
monkey off my back onto yours, and I put it right back on you.
read it first, then come back with your questions.
right,
No, it actually does. And then most people aren't gonna get it on one
No.
oral recitation.
right,
They really need their lot designer.
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, because that, you know, they do have their lot designed, they have the survey,
Yeah.
so there's a certain amount of engineering that's already being done.
So what
You
I'm
know,
saying
so
is,
including this stuff into those drawings would be
they need
great.
drawings that show that it's gonna conform to this.
Mm-hmm,
So they don't have to understand it, the contractor
person-
doesn't have to understand it, the
Right.
septic designer has to understand it.
Right.
The one that does the survey of the lot,
Right.
mm-hmm,
this is not part of it.
right,
Where the curb stop, none of those show where the curb stop's gonna be. They don't know
No.
where it's gonna be. This has been our problem,
right,
is we're gonna specify it. So that's really the answer. Is it's what we require in drawings. And then whatever board is elected has to understand the drawings. Or if they're gonna give it to an employee or a volunteer or gonna pay somebody part-time to do it,
mm-hmm.
they have to
That
do it.
person needs to understand.
Not
Yes.
decide what it
Right.
is they're gonna enforce and what it is they're not gonna enforce, which
Correct.
happened during the last 5 years.
Right,
Okay, that's enough on that for now?
Yeah. To start.
That's what I did last week.
Wow.
Have anything, Marta?
Nope.
Nancy?
of course. I also have written down 29 Grisson and 53 Burn, I think it's Burn Drive, are the two lots that we discussed last week. That I'm thinking we should probably review them,
Field trip.
you know? And I'm thinking that, you know, that we should set a time that we're gonna be able to look at those two. So the same two that Mark pointed out, you know, after last week's discussion, I'm like, yeah, we should go out and look at them.
I can do that. I wanna do that.
You
Okay.
like re-review the driveways?
See
Yeah,
See if it's an
yeah.
actual problem.
Take a look, see if there's actually a problem, or did we simply just not hear from them, so we didn't give them an operations permit? You know,
Correct,
they,
right.
they could be ready
Which property?
if we don't look at them, you know? 29 Grissom,
Grissom?
Yep.
so
And
that's
50
the
Burn.
Aspen side of Grissom,
Yep.
not the 113 side, and 53 Burn.
Okay.
So what works for people?
I can't do today until after the work person comes, so I can't commit to anything today. I think tomorrow.
I can do tomorrow morning. I'm not available after 1 tomorrow afternoon.
You're not available after 1. I could do tomorrow morning if it's really early, like 8:30, and we're wrapped up within an hour. Because I got something from 10 to 12, then I'm okay in the afternoon, but you're not okay in the afternoon.
Right.
Thursday I'm clear completely, and Friday.
Thursday afternoon?
After FEMA, that's at 11 usually.
Right. So it would be an after lunch thing.
So our usual 2:30.
Sure.
Okay.
2:30 Thursday afternoon.
Where are you gonna start with first?
Grissom.
Okay.
They have to be at opposite ends of the planet, huh?
Of course.
All right. Anything else next?
This is something I'm probably gonna want some input from the highway on this, and just anything that anybody else is aware of. But I'd like to start putting together a list of incorrect addresses. And so that we can start working on getting some of those corrected. Right obvious, 8 Idlewise Drive has no access to Idlewise Drive. That address has to be 1 Burn Drive,
Oh, wild.
you know?
That's on a corner, right?
Yep, no, it's in the middle. It's in the middle, it's right at the beginning it's at the corner of Burn. But the only access is on
It's a
Burn,
corner lot of Otherwise Drive and Burn.
right?
Right. No, it's
Right.
the house that just sold. It's under contract.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
house.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but
So how
it
is
never
listed
should have
on the
been,
tax
it never
map?
should have been given,
That's the point, is it's Otherwise Drive.
right?
Yeah.
Didn't you tell me
Wild.
that it's if an owner has a corner lot, it's up to him him or
No.
her to decide which?
No,
No?
it's not up to them. 911 requirements clearly say the address has to be the road that you access. So it has to be Burn.
Okay.
Wild.
And we own 2 or 3 lots right beyond that. So if it's a matter of giving up a number, we can merge our numbers and give it number 1,
It's
you
not even
know?
clear what the street numbers are of all
Right.
lots.
Right.
I found for
You
FEMA.
know, so that's one of them. One of the other ones that I've driven by many, many times looking at driveways is 23 Jungfrau is the corner lot on Appenvale Way. The house is clearly only accessible from Appenvale Way. And it has directions right on it that says that its address is Jungfrau. That should be corrected. There was a whole list of these from a 911 survey. So one of the things that I'm thinking is I'm gonna get in touch with Linda and see if there's been a later survey or if she can pull up some of the
Boy, that would help.
older driveways, you know, that were listed on that prior. We fixed a bunch of these
Wow.
around 2017 and 2018. We redid an entire side of Jungfrau after the house, the Hi-Ho Lodge burnt. And the town took possession
It
of
was at
that.
the corner of Jungfrau and Aspen.
Yeah.
Right,
The driveway was on Jungfrau.
right, and there was no access from Aspen, but its address was
Aspen?
Aspen.
Aspen.
So we had to renumber parts of Jungfrau to get it a Jungfrau address, and this was all part of the 911 requirements.
Wild.
Okay.
One of the things you've put out as a public service thing a couple of times is having proper address
Numbers.
numbers
On the, so you know.
from the street.
Yep.
You know, that's also part of all of this. You know, if we can't find them, and we know the roads, how is emergency services ever gonna find some of these unless they're blatantly, you know, something really bad's happening, like a fire that's visible, you know? So I didn't know if anybody else had others that they were aware of right away, you know, Omega to West Begamo, is one of the other ones, but just start thinking about it, so it is something, like I said, I'll get in touch with Linda to see any ones that she might have, and it's something that we might wanna start fixing some of these.
Yeah.
Some of them are as easy as sending a certified letter to the property owner to see if they are in favor of changing their address. And if they are in favor of it, it's easy. You just can get it done. If there's any questions on it, or they're not in favor, then you wind up in public hearings, and the selectmen wind up getting involved because this actually falls under the town clerk.
Okay.
But it was, like I said, it was just something I wanted to put out.
Makes sense to
And that was it. That was all I had.
Okay. I don't think there's any correspondence. Public appearance.
Couple of things. It occurred to me, you're talking about the driveway permit for construction being revoked in a couple of places, a couple of instances. Do you copy Bob Boyd on those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I
Bob
don't
Boyd
think-
was made aware.
I was talking with him about something else, and that whole issue came up, and he said that he doesn't think he can use that to revoke the building permit, but it's important that you know what's going on with the property.
Correct, and if the driveway, if a building permit need to be renewed, or if they want a new one, it's information that he needs to have.
Okay, good. I want to make sure you were copying him. The scanner. Jen, did you have a chance to figure out if there's that PDF-A archival capability on the current unit?
No, that printer will not have any kind of capability like that.
Right, so we need to look at replacing that
And
unit?
and
probably?
even if it did, it couldn't handle volume of,
Okay, how should we proceed on that? Do you want me to work with Jennifer on that, or how do you want to proceed?
what is the purpose of this?
We'd like to, once we finish the records work up at the Cabana, then
Yes.
the next step is to scan and archive everything that we're permitted to, just to get rid of the paper, make a permanent copy.
Well,
Well, not really get rid of the paper, but to have a digital backup.
You're actually allowed by the RSA to.
just to have the digital,
Just to
yeah.
have the digital, yeah, when it's already protected by carbonite and so forth, so it's.
Yeah.
Okay, I just say, we have that brand new space up there, we should probably still just retain it, just, you
It
know,
would make it more accessible too.
Yeah.
You're right, so far the volume's minor, so we could keep the paper, just mark it
Oh, I
and
see,
scan.
okay.
But is that something we should look at for annual meeting as a warrant article?
Yep. So if you were to look at some higher end
Scanners.
scanners, feeder scanners that have PDA capabilities,
Yeah,
that'd be good, see if you get prices on them.
Okay. And last on the list is the
If you agree with
vandalism.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I just wrote it on my 25 warrant
You're
article
nodding,
list.
so I think you were okay, I didn't say anything. I wanted to hear from Wayne.
Is it number 25? Just a quick check-in on the sign vandalism. Down yesterday, down at the mailboxes. I sent you a note on one idea, and this is early thinking because it just happened yesterday, but one possibility is to eliminate the boards and make, I did look for a lockable sign board, and so far I haven't found anything that would work, where we could create a sign, lock it up, make it a little bit tougher. Anybody can break into anything if they want to hard enough, but it would certainly be harder than what they are confronted with there now. Another option would be, there is some space under the district bulletin board now to put, I measured it coming down to, we could put a 16-inch bulletin board underneath, if it'd be okay, and this is just an idea. And then we could put large print notices in there, large enough to hopefully catch drive-by attention. Our
Oh,
current
I see.
bulletin board isn't aimed right to do that. So that's the only thing that I could think of in lieu of having a portable board, is to make a permanent one that could then be locked, secure cover, heavy plexiglass, like the current bulletin boards for the district. And have the EPOA event announcements, including, we promote annual meeting and other things too, so there's some district benefit to that as well. We could configure that as a general rehab project for the whole area, because those doors are in terrible shape.
Yep.
We could look at as part of a rehab for the whole unit, and fresh paint and some carpentry and so forth. But I know it's a little touchy. Technically it's a private. It's not part of the district. It's a separate organization. I don't know whether that's appropriate or problematic to add a dedicated piece for announcements. It would eliminate the sandwich boards, which are obviously a huge issue now. So just an early thought.
Yeah, yeah, I would think as long as it's below and not gonna affect the amount of space available for the district,
Be totally separate unit.
what happens underneath, I don't necessarily think that would be a big deal, but we'd have to look at it.
There was a big to-do, just to give you the history of that whole area and communications, I guess. There was a big to-do about having the EPOA have any kind of bulletin board down there. And the compromise was to give the end of the mailbox building
Yep.
that closed-in bulletin board. And then the EPOA got permission to temporarily put up a sandwich board. I believe it was 2 weeks prior to any event. And the way that worked was, the fact that the sandwich boards appeared again really caught people's attention. They didn't read them as they're driving by at 25 miles an hour into a Hotwell parking lot type of rodeo exit where you can leave that parking lot from the Hotwell itself, or from the mailboxes, or anywhere in between the bus stops. The idea wasn't that you read them at 25 miles an hour, is that you saw them, that there was something happening. And the next time you had
You
the
would look.
opportunity to pull in the parking lot to get your mail, to get the newspaper, or just stop in to read it, you read them. It was the same theory of the MIA black flag doesn't stay up all the time. It went up on veterans type holidays, and it stuck out that, remind you of missing in action.
Yep.
issues, situation. So, it kind of melted into those sandwich boards were there all the time. The sandwich boards have always been tinkered with because the letters were free. Anybody that had the time and happened to be there decided what to change the letters to. So, even if they're up there temporarily, they're gonna mess with the lettering of it. So say you wanna get away from the sandwich boards. Now you want to have something that can't be tinkered with. But I think we should also consider the idea that the sandwich boards were flags of an event.
Yeah.
Like physical change made you wanna go and see when you had the opportunity to read what was actually there. So, if not the bulletin board that the village puts the official information on, there's still the bulletin board in the area under that where the EPOA already has stuff. How big an area do you need, and do we really need 3-inch high letters if there's something to flag people to say you should go read the EPOA device to see what the event is that's coming up? So, we do need to fix the doors on our bulletin board. And we could put additional space. Is the space that the EPA already has with their bulletin board changed often, used enough?
Carrie updates that a couple times a year, I think, with information. But it's small, you have to
Yeah,
stand right up there to read it,
it seems like
obviously.
it's utilized pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah.
We could
I
all,
like the
So it's
idea of the-
convenient to have it close to where people go to get the newspapers in the mail.
Yeah.
So it should be in that area.
right. So even if they went below where their current bulletin board is with something larger, or replace their current bulletin board with something larger, but keep it on that same side wall that was agreed to many, many years ago.
The only thing
It's
is
something we could think
snow.
about.
It's hard to read anything that's got a
Well, you wouldn't want it
3-foot
under the snow.
If there's a 3-foot snowbank in front of the sign, then it's
Well,
not.
to get to it, you mean?
Now, most of the stuff the EPOA puts up for events is in the summer.
Right.
Summer and autumn.
There was a successful skating rink event, but. So maybe snow is not the issue if you want to put a bulletin board below it. It would have its own separate doors and openings that it
Yeah,
would
my
be part of
concern
the
with the
design,
current,
redesign.
my concern with the current EPOA board is that it's not angled to catch people's attention on a drive-by. It's
At all, yeah.
at all. Now, interesting point you make about the signboard, the sandwich boards go out, it attracts, whoop, something's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's as simple as having that board with more detailed information underneath the current district boards, you know, the 16-inch strip I'm talking about that goes all the way across.
Yeah,
And then put a sandwich board out that just simply says EPOA event and an arrow.
Yeah.
More information, so there's
yeah,
very few.
news, yeah,
So
whatever.
there's less for them to mess with on the board,
True.
maybe. But to your point, the board appears 2 weeks before the event. That's an attention getter. That's an interesting concept. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. But we can't get enough information without putting a whole lot of letters on there. And that
Yeah.
gives them a lot of fodder, obviously, to work with. I don't know what the best solution is, but we only have one more event this year, the Fall Walk, which we now won't be able to advertise that way, but we gotta figure something out for next year that's gonna be workable. And that's the only thing I can think of is the angle of the district bulletin boards faces correctly, it's angled a little bit, so somebody swinging out from Hutwell could see it, somebody driving in Edelweiss could see it. And it could be a question of just putting large letters just to attract attention, or putting the sandwich board with very little on it, just saying, news here, or something
Yeah,
like that.
drawing attention to
Something really
the board,
minimal
yeah.
on the sandwich board.
I would say get away from the changeable letters altogether.
Exactly,
Just,
yeah.
if you want, you can have a you can have a sign made that
Like a
says
little
EPOA
board.
event,
Yeah,
and make them, and that goes up and down
Yeah,
with the event, make them go read where the standard stuff is, that's not movable letters, it's,
I think that would work, because then you'd have the physical, you know, it's written, they can read it, but also the fact that, you know, Carrie and Angela are working on a new website for the EPOA.
right.
You got your own Facebook site,
yeah,
but also, you know, EPOA events are also discussed many times on the other Facebook sites that are not EPOA. So I think,
Right.
I think the word is getting out pretty well.
Yeah.
And maybe the sandwich board has been used as a, you know, a relic of the past.
Right, that's a good point, we just make up a permanent one, you know. Yeah, that's an interesting idea, a fixed one that says EPO event, go to blah, blah, blah website for more information. And then it would never have to be changed, just put it out 2 weeks before, that's an interesting idea. We could put a summary in the existing EPOA
yeah, of course.
bulletin board.
Right,
Yeah.
that should always be changed, the
Yeah.
bulletin board that exists there, and maybe a bigger one, so that somebody's just there picking up their mail or paper, they can read about it,
Yeah,
right there.
Oh, no, they can go to a website and find out
Right.
what it's all about.
okay, let's try that first then.
all set?
Yeah. Yes.
Take away those vandals of ammunition.
So next meeting will be Tuesday, October 8th. The week after that, it's on a Wednesday, October 16th, then Tuesday, October 22nd, then Tuesday, October 29th. And we're going to go into non-public session right now, if the vote goes that way, under RSA 91A to discuss employee-related issue review. I'll make a motion that we enter into non-public session.
Second,
Roll call vote. Nancy, how do you vote?
aye.
Wood, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye also, 3-0 to go into non-public session. Thank you, Carol. Have a good week.